Okay. And we're gonna get started, somewhat informal, but maybe a little formal, and whatnot. So I got here 1992 Chaney football, some key contributors off of the team that was the first playoff winning team in Chaney history. Got Mr. Sylvester Patton, starting running back and defensive back, and Ron Allen, starting defensive back, and Mr. Versatile on offense, a little receiver, a little backup quarterback action, and myself, fullback and defensive end. I think we should give a shout out to Dallas Saunders and the Once a Cowboy, Always a Cowboys podcast for having us on, and just honestly giving us the impetus to get together and do a group Zoom call in the first place. I really appreciate that. And I just like the fact that we can get together and do something as well on our own. So, um, on the heels of that podcast last week, fellas, I was just thinking to myself, obviously that focus is what happened at Chaney, but all of us had careers after Chaney, and the three of us on the call here represent the three levels here. It's Sylvester Division 1, Ron Division 2, me at Division 3. And so we've had these informal conversations in the past about our post Chaney playing experience. And so I thought, man, we should just put this stuff on wax, man, and just have it as a legacy thing to look back on, and just talk about, number one, uh, a brief synopsis of our playing career at Chaney and maybe the recruiting process, and then to get into what happened after we left, and whatnot. So, um, Sylvester, why don't you start us off, man? Why don't you kind of recount that '92 season and recruiting and whatnot, how that jumped off?
First of all, thank you for putting this together, Kenyon,
Hmm.
and Ron. The '92 season, it was, we had fun. By that time, we had all known each other for years, and being able to, play with my friends and basically family. I've known Ron since preschool, and our
Wow.
family have come. We lived on. I was on Brentwood, and he's on Winona, and
Yeah.
our families are still there. Amen.
Mm.
So it was fun. We ran, we I said in the broadcast with Coach Burtis and Coach Saunders, we expected to win, and we did. And during the process of that senior year, there were so many halves that many of us did not even play. That's how dominating we were as a team. Dwayne, Mark, Ron, you, Chuck, we did, Paige, Marklin, Telepan, all of them guys. We had fun playing the game, and at the same time, we're at seniors. Letters are coming in, scouts are coming in, asking, trying to get you to go to their school, or just seeing where you're at. So at the same time, I'm playing, I'm processing where I'm going to go to school, because I never, and this is the honest goodness truth, I never thought that I would be an NFL football player. That was never on my goal. My goal was to help my parents out, that they would not have to pay for my school. And if you're going to give me a scholarship for doing something that I love to do, so the recruiting, recruiting aspect of it, I actually I loved it. I thought it was fun. I thought it would. We'll talk about where we wanted to go and where we ended up going. But that senior year, it was a lot of fun academically, athletically, and socially, just hanging out with my brothers.
Hmm. Ron, you want to say a few words on
Uh,
that?
well, the whole high school experience, uh, as you know, we've been through a lot, put in a whole lot of work, had a whole lot of hard days getting prepared for the season. Um, I think, coming into it, uh, that first year, 90, I think we were all just looking to be a part of something, and something to do, something to keep us busy and out of the way of what was going on around, the neighborhood, the city. And then, you always want to try to leave your mark uh, as somebody to be known in terms of football because that's what's king around our area. So for me, I grew up idolizing like Rodney King. He was my neighbor down the street, and I used to borrow his equipment every year for Halloween. So uh, my dad put me in the little league like at 5, and you were supposed to be 8, and I quit because it was just too much, too soon. So I didn't get back into even playing football until 6th grade. And that came on the heels of me attempting to box over at Cardinal Gym, and went in there, got my head lumped one good time, and that's all it took. And I was across the street at Fosterville Playground running sprints the next day. So coming over to Chaney, I had been out of playing football for 2 years just because of the academic uh, aspect of it. I wasn't eligible. So when I came into it, I didn't have any expectations other than just wanting to be a part of the team. So for me, you know, I had to figure out who and what I was going to be, not only, you know, as a football player at Chaney, or just as a student, because I was remaking my whole identity from what I had been doing up to that point. So, in terms of football, you guys know I was a quarterback, the previous years before even joining that team. And I remember I didn't understand the play calling. So I jumped in line behind Sylvester and ended up as the running back that first year. And then, going from that to varsity the next year, it's like, okay, coaches, he identified that I have some quarterback skills just from running scout quarterback a couple times on the JV. So going into 11th grade, it's like, okay, we're gonna give you a chance to compete, and you guys know this. I thought I did enough to show that I had legitimate skills and could have been, a viable option at quarterback. But to coach's credit, he went with, the person that he felt gave us the best chance to win. And then I have to give him the credit for finding a place for me, as a receiver, as a defensive back, because I didn't have those positions, in my window, in my sphere. So it's like, okay, you're being guided. To that point, I'm just a football player. Like, hey, I just want to be out there. Whatever's going to get me on the field, I'm going to take it. So, to think about having the opportunity to get a scholarship, go on to play college, those things weren't even on my radar at that point. It wasn't until, we all started enjoying that success. And then, you start getting those first initial recruiting letters that you kind of realize and it clicks for you like, okay, somebody thinks that I have enough talent to at least, send a interest letter. And then from there, it just kind of, snowball to where going into senior year, I'm starting to realize like, man, I really have a real option and a real chance to get somewhere. Just had no idea where that was going to be.
Mm.
My heart was set on the back. Kent State was the place that I really wanted to be. I think me and
Yep.
Steele, we took a visit up there for a game. It
Yep.
wasn't official; it was informal, but we were invited. And then, I had that interest from Toledo. Enjoyed myself on the recruiting visit. Me and Mark went together. But uh, as that weekend wrapped up, Coach Pinkel made it clear that my best option was going to be as an invited preferred walk on, and I had that visit to Edinburgh the following week. So I kind of left that recruiting visit a little disappointed, pride hurt, not knowing what to expect uh, from the visit for Edinburgh because I never even heard of them. I didn't know where they were, what they were about. So it's just funny how your life's path just guides you exactly where you're supposed to be when you look back on it and it's all said and done.
Yeah, yeah. And just for those folks that, whoever might be watching this and for folks that may not even know the difference between like Division 1, 2, and 3 football, I mean, Division 1, that's the highest level of college football. Wide spectrum of teams in it, but generally, this is the breeding ground for the pros. You got the Alabamas and Ohio States in there, and kind of everything in between. But for the most part, the vast majority of those guys are on full athletic scholarships. And then you got Division 2, which I think, quite honestly, is probably the least understood or known about in terms of the different levels, because it's kind of this hybrid thing where, what is it, Ron? Like maybe 45 some scholarships, split up amongst, a full team or something like that.
At the time we were playing, you got 36 full scholarships to divide amongst your roster.
Right. And it's commonplace for folks at that level to be on partial scholarship. That's the norm, right? Halves,
Yes.
quarters, that kind of thing.
Yes.
So yeah, I didn't even know that that's how that worked, even back then. And then Division 3, which is where I played, that's the division, generally speaking. Well, there's certainly no official scholarships. There may be some unofficial things that go on there, but officially no scholarships. And folks basically play for the love in that respect, because you're not getting any direct money to supplement your college education and whatnot. And it's the lowest of the 3 divisions. So just to put that out there. And as far as I went, I always envisioned getting something, academic as far as college went. When the football success came, and like I said, getting some recruitment letters, getting some visits and that kind of thing. And again, really just kind of learning about the landscape of college football, these other levels while you're going through it. It was a little bewildering, and I had a lot of offers from all different levels, a lot of interest from like the non-scholarship 1AA, like the Patriot League level. And a lot of that was because, I fit the academic profile, and it's like, yeah, you're a little small, but you can work here, so I was getting interest there. Obviously a lot of Division 3, some Division 2. So all different layers, and didn't really fit, neatly into any place. And after a while, the Case Western thing kind of wound up emerging when I really thought I was going to do this medicine thing, just recognizing how excellent of a undergrad that would be. When honestly, the football, I definitely could have chosen some other experiences where the football success would have been better. And so that ultimately, wound up being like the paramount thing, the educational experience. But yeah, kind of the recruiting thing was it was a little eye-opening, and honestly a little tough to kind of figure things out. So
Yeah, Kill, you learn, and I'm sure Ron tell you, doing the recruiting thing, it's you see a side of the recruiter one day that's so positive and uplifting, and then let's say you go on the visit, or the like me and Ron, we went on a visit. It was an official visit, and then you just see it was. I enjoyed the recruiting process, but I saw the fakeness and the phoniness and the politics, and it was much like, if I use lack of a better word, it was just like a market. If you're on a visit and a certain person committed, that could affect your scholarship.
absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was crazy. I went to Toledo and did not commit,
Hmm.
and they stopped talking to me the last 2 hours of the visit, and I was offended. I said, I got 2 more visits. So it was just the politics of I got to get this one. If I don't get this one, let's move on to the next one. So yeah, I'm like you, Kill. Recruiting was, I enjoyed the letters and being at home, but once you really got on the phone and spoke to them, and you realized that their jobs were tied to your commitment. It was very tough. And I have a story about that. I thought I was going to Vanderbilt. Like I visited down Vanderbilt, everything, and everything was good. Coach Jerry DiNardo was the coach then. 2 years later, he went to LSU. Went there. Vanderbilt didn't win a lot, but it was an excellent campus life, excellent academic school. It was SEC. That was about as close as I was going to get to SEC. Went down there. They had me sit with the coach. And me and my dad said, it's a wrap. They offer you, you take it. I left without an offer.
Okay.
And then the recruiter came to my home. He was in the Youngstown area. He said, I just called to see how you're doing. I'm like, oh, so are you still guys want to offer me? Well, we're still working on some things.
Which is code for, we got a couple other guys that, if they commit.
I didn't get any worse on the field. It was the fact that someone else was better. And if that better decommitted or went somewhere else, then I would be next, next. And I'll never forget. And when I got off the phone with him, it literally, it broke my heart. And I realized that I had to start looking for what's best for me, myself, and my family. So instead of the recruiters interviewing me, I started interviewing them. My father would sit right there next to me, and he would start interviewing them as they came to the house. Yeah.
The recruiting visit where I felt the most like, replaceable and not really, like I said, not really valuable per se, was Mount Union, and for folks that know, Mount Union was and still is. I mean, they're kind of like the Alabama of Division III football. I mean, multiple national championships and everything. And me and Tom Mager, one of our other co-captains on the team, we went there on a visit. And again, the recruiting letters, the phone calls ahead of time, they know how to make you feel, special per se. And you sit there in front as Coach Larry Karras was his name, who went on, I think, coach at Purdue and some other places and everything like that. You get into his office, you sit in front of him, and he's just like, look, you guys can come, you guys cannot come. We're going to keep rolling here. We're going to have, if you come, you'll get a couple national titles, you do this, and this. We got 200 guys and, out in the summer at camp. We don't have enough jersey numbers. We got dudes running triple digit jerseys in practice. He was like, you can just be part of this big machine here or not. I really don't care, basically, and that was the most like, oh, okay, well, thank you very much. And, you not that, and believe it or not, Mount Union wasn't high on my list. Again, more on the academic and pre-med thing. I don't think it was particularly noteworthy for that, but certainly for football, great. But that recruit, the way you just left up out of there, it certainly didn't make you feel like you were special at all, so.
Hey, and Ron, Vanderbilt, he was looking at you too, remember?
Well, I know I used to get a lot of, periphery inquiry, because, I'd get called down out of class to meet a coach. And at the time I didn't realize it, but, it would be the eye test, where they give you the handshake, they put their hand on your shoulder, kind of touch you on your bicep area to see if you lift and all of that. So, I had those soft inquiries from like Northwestern, Colorado State called a lot. And then
Ron, I was just about to say Northwestern, and I just remember this. I'm sorry to interrupt you. They were big on you.
Yeah, until I found out that coach was shopping me as a possible quarterback. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't start at quarterback here. You know what I mean? How are they going to see me as that there? And then, once they looked at the stats and saw that I didn't have very many catches as a receiver, those schools just kind of fell to the wayside. So I got that same call from Mount Union, the only difference in that experience was is I told them right from the door that I wasn't interested because they didn't offer athletic money,
Hmm.
and they kept calling, just trying to have me come over for a visit. And then, um, once I kind of finally said for that last time, I'm just really not interested in the Division 3 level, based on uh, you guys not offering athletic aid. I didn't realize that they had the ability and the power to do institutional aid and to kind of make it where,
Hmm.
you might not have to incur a huge cost to yourself or your family.
Hmm.
And had I known that, knowing what I know now, post the
Hmm.
Division 2 experience,
Hmm.
post watching, my friends and others that we know do the Division 1 thing, only to not end up in the NFL. You know, at this juncture, I tell kids, if you have an opportunity to go Division 3 and they giving you a good aid package,
Hmm.
it's not a bad option because it beats playing in front of sparse crowds at the Division 2 level, fighting for scholarship money every year. Because that's the other kicker about D2 is your scholarship is year to year, and you have to
Yeah.
earn it in spring ball and renegotiate. So you kind of are always left in limbo from season to season, not knowing if you're going to have enough money to cover, not knowing if there's somebody competing at your same position that they're more interested in. So you really are under a lot of anxiety to just have that opportunity to come back and maintain your money level. So, you're not having to take out more loan or put the burden on your parents to come up with this miscellaneous fee or that miscellaneous fee. So it can get a little bit hairy and put you on that roller coaster feeling. And in all actuality, I think it's probably the biggest thing that causes guys to transfer out from that level and seek another opportunity.
That's interesting. And Division 3, um, also, like you mentioned, that aid package business and these other monies they have access to. Um, other schools on the recruiting trip, and I'll just mention another one in particular, Allegheny, Division 3, Western Pennsylvania. They were actually really good in that era in which I was getting recruited. They'd make the playoffs and that kind of thing. Not quite on Mount Union's level, but still a very good program. Took a visit there also with Tommy Mayer, and talking with some of the players there. They basically had offered me, they said, look, with your grades and test scores, we've got an academic scholarship for you. And then the players basically said, look, if your grades fall off or anything like that, they've got other money to make up for that. Don't even worry about it. Which I was like, wow. But it was kind of so foreign to what I was used to hearing. And it sounded almost shady in a way, but I see now it really wasn't, in all honesty. And like you said, Ron, if you would have known about that and the way that kind of works, maybe you, like I said, you play it like a good Division 3 school, get a lot of burn, still come out with maybe minimal college debt and a good experience kind of deal. So yeah, there's all kind of, like I said, kind of unofficial money at the Division 3 level. It makes me wonder about some of these powerhouse programs, in terms of standing out and maybe recruiting some talent that they otherwise, maybe wouldn't get or would lose to a different school or even a different level. You know, Case was, I'll be honest with, football was not a priority for them, even though they had the money and the resources to make it a priority. And that was kind of a frustrating thing, because I think we lost to some teams that just quite honestly, just care a little more about football than what we did. But yeah, the Division 2 thing though, when I listening to you talk about it, that sounded very unattractive. That whole, partial this and that and negotiating every year kind of deal. Now, technically, isn't it technically the same thing at the Division 1 level? Your scholarship's a year to year thing, but at least it's always full, though, right?
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Our scholarships were, you sign, you think, you signed a 4-year, possibly a 5-year scholarship, depending on if you redshirt or not. But I've witnessed people called in to the office,
And get
and
stuff yanked.
yeah, their,
Wow.
their 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 full ride has become partial with the Pell Grant, or
Uh,
because there's a junior college guy.
mm,
My scholarship that I received from Toledo, I didn't commit to Toledo when I went on my visit. So then I called them after everything else fell through that I wanted to go to. And Mark called me, and Mark Heron
mhm,
said, "Man, I'm going to Toledo." I said, "Bet, I'm going to. I'm going to
mhm.
go with my best friend." I called them, Coach Craig Kuligowski, who's a former defensive line coach for Alabama, Miami. Now he's back at Toledo. He said, "Sylvester, we don't have any more scholarships." So they had to actually make a scholarship for me. I don't know who lost their scholarship, but they had. So I've seen that done many times. So they're year to year, but at least a year to year is full,
Mhm.
you know. And but yeah, I've seen a lot of guys from Toledo transfer to a lot of Michigan schools. Um, and even other MAC schools. But every year, I always believed that I was fighting for my scholarship. I really
Mhm.
did every year. So not only athletically did I want to do well, but academically, because you told me and my father when you came into the living room and when you talked on the phone, that we want to make sure this young man graduates and becomes a great asset to society. Well, I'm not a star on the football field, but I'm taking care of it academically.
Mhm.
So I really thought, I said, I need to keep my grades at a level. So if I always had great effort, but as we were talking, and we'll talk more about that, I didn't play as much as I wanted to on the field, but they could not say, we got to take his scholarship. Uh,
Mhm.
well, that's what I believe, but I have learned that the NCAA and University of Toledo can do whatever they want to do.
Mm.
Really, yeah. Mm.
Yeah. I mean, did you feel like it was, as far as the academic side of things, I mean, did you feel that, it was more of a lip service kind of thing, in terms of how you
Oh,
did? Uh,
yeah,
okay.
most definitely. You only
Okay.
have to finish the question. Yeah, it was. I wrote something in our
Mm.
I wrote something in our campus paper about the exploitation of athletes, in particular
Mm.
African American athletes. And
Okay.
Coach Pinko called me into the office. He said, "I really loved your article. I wish you would have talked to me about it
Mm-hmm.
before you wrote it."
Because I could have edited it for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Right.
Coach Pinko was a good man. I mean, he's a good dude. From played at Kent, was just a good dude. But yeah, the academics was it was to, let's get you in here, but
Yeah.
you had to make the most. I said, if I, I was registered as a freshman, if I can't get a 4-year degree in 5 years, I have just wasted an opportunity. That
Mhm.
was literally, and at the end of my 4th year, I was about a year and some months away from graduating. So that summer, I took extra credit because
Mhm.
I wanted to make this 5 years mean something other than me coming through the school. So I was,
Mhm.
and I was not a 3.0 student. I was, thank you, Lordy. I wasn't cum laude. Amen. I,
Mhm.
I finished. But yeah,
Amen.
it was that academic piece for me, and trying my best to get on the field. Yeah.
How about you, Ronnie? In terms of the selling of the student athlete label versus how much they really seem to care about your academics there when you're on campus.
Well, they our head coach Tom Holman, he wasn't the person to push the academic piece as this was something that they were going to do for you or help you get. It was up to you as a student to accomplish whatever you came to
Hmm.
accomplish academically. Now they did the things like study tables for those incoming players that were kind of on the bubble with their academics. Um, if you fell below what they thought you needed to be eligible, your grades would get read off in front of the whole team. Now
Okay.
that's serious business. But in terms of whether you graduated or not, all of that was totally up to you. All of that was uh, it was left up to your own ambitions. So we had, guys who were the 4.0 type of guy, and they promoted that. They always uh, pointed it out. They never treated those guys as less than
Hmm.
uh, for being academically inclined. But in the same breath, if you were a guy that was a 1.8 and you were playing very well on the field,
Hmm.
your place was never in jeopardy.
Hmm.
So
Right.
hey, get that 2.0, be in shape, come in ready for camp. Let's get these W's.
Hmm. Hmm. Now, if you're gonna go to a place like Case Western and the football is not good, and you came there for academics, the academics got to be on point. And from a culture standpoint and everything that was there. There was a pretty notorious chemistry class with a chemistry lab that the professor they said he kind of almost intentionally timed up the chem lab to kind of run into practice time or whatever. So all the pre-meds and all that would be late to practice a couple of times a week, a Tuesday or a Thursday, and it was just kind of a known thing, and coach didn't trip, you know what I mean? And so um so from that standpoint, it's like, yeah, you know what I mean? We know y'all dudes are here to get this pre-med thing off, and this football thing is it's a nice adjunct to that. And they didn't trip on that at all. And actually a couple of med school interviews and whatnot, the early ones fell during the very tail end of the season, senior year. And I missed, miss a practice to go on a med school interview and that kind of thing. No sweat at all, basically. So from that standpoint, they were good in that, and they celebrated when me and Mager got our acceptance letters and stuff like that. They stopped practice. Coach got the letters some kind of way. He like intercepted them or whatever, and he stops practice and reads it off. And that's how I found out I got into Case Med School, was on the football field. And to see those dudes kind of rally around and be happy about it. And I wasn't the only one. We weren't the only two, but we were captains of the team and everything, and made the academic All-Americans thing and all that. So that part was cool. And even with in the football brotherhood, as it were, we had people from all the various majors, engineering, this and that. And back in those days, the pre-internet days, did you guys have folks that would kind of keep files and old tests from like certain courses and stuff like that, that if you were taking it, they could give you that previous year's test material and all this kind of stuff to kind of help you with classes? I don't know if y'all did that kind of thing, but they did there.
I went to the University of Toledo.
so so check this out. Like, so yeah, like the football team had their own kind of like catalog of all this academic material for certain classes, that if you were taking it, and dudes would help you out in it, big time. And so like there was that culture of, let's all get good grades here kind of deal too. So that was pretty big. I'm not gonna lie at all. So and again, if I'm not gonna have great success in terms of wins and losses on the football field, and I'm not getting any money out of it, y'all could at least, like I said, support my academic dream, which I will say they did that. So
Well,
you hear a lot about you got a free ride. I used to hear that a lot in
yeah.
college and even now. And I have to correct people. First of all, it wasn't free. I earned this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And while I'm in school, I have to learn it. My undergraduate playing University of Toledo, it taught me how to manage, my time on the field, my time in the weight room, because football is year round. There was no break.
right.
Doing my schoolwork,
Mm-hmm.
my social work, just socially, just being active and doing what we do as college people. So students. So when people say a free ride, Kenyon, it was not free. You
Hmm.
had
Yeah.
to study. You had to perform on the field. Ron knows that it is not a free ride. You earn it. It is it's an honor and a privilege to receive any kind of scholarship.
Hmm.
But believe me, it is not free, and I earned that bachelor's degree by the
Hmm.
skin of my teeth. I graduated in 4 years, in 5 years.
Mm.
Yeah.
And see, like I think I don't know. You guys would have to give me your thoughts on this, but I think for us, we were all either on that first generation or that second generation of college
First.
students in our family.
Yep.
Hmm.
My parents both went to YSU but didn't finish their degrees. My dad left 9 hours short of his degree when he signed to play baseball. My mom, she had some illness and she had to drop out of school. So, my sisters went to college ahead of me. And then, the path that I was on leading up to that point of getting, a partial football scholarship to even go to college. Because going into 11th grade, my plan was to either go into the military or barber school. That's what I was focused on. So when the college thing started becoming more real, you know, for a nice chunk there, I wasn't a person who was even thinking about uh, leaving Youngstown. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So to all of a sudden you're to be in a position where you're, academically eligible and worthy to be able to play the sport and continue that dream. And then that possibility of getting a degree, for me, it represented, that avenue out of Youngstown. And,
Hmm.
as you all remember, them early 90s, mid 90s in Youngstown, as a black male, you know, you had to have that thought in your head that you could be that statistic that just gets caught
Didn't
in the
make it.
crossfire,
Yeah.
swept up into the gang stuff that was going on, uh, you know, looking at selling a little dope on the side,
Most
just to
definitely.
have, or hoping that you get into GM, you know.
Hmm.
So for me, that I always had that motivation, regardless of the football. I got to get this degree by any means necessary, so I don't have to return back home and start my life there and end my life there. So I was highly motivated to just finish. Whatever I had to do. There were times where, I would go to the financial aid office and I learned the name of an important person in the bursar's office, and I would run over to the bookstore and say, Miss such and such said that she sent me over here and told me that I can just charge my books against the financial aid that they're putting together for me. And then I get those books, hurry up and run across campus to the bursar's office, show them the receipt so they log it in, and then go talk to the person that actually authorizes it, just so I can kind of stay in school year to year and not have to go back home to Youngstown. So that degree ended up becoming my saving grace, if you will, to you know get out of that Youngstown mentality, get out of that thought process of always thinking about the violence that was going on if something was going to happen to me. It just pointed me in a whole different trajectory, and then it gave me a different vision of who I was and what my purpose was. So that degree, regardless of the on-field success that I had, the time that I had where I enjoyed just being a football player and a college athlete and the notoriety that comes along with it, big or small, you know, that degree means everything to me above that. So when I hear you say, Kill, that your coach has celebrated you getting your acceptance letter to med school, I wish we had that type of support and that type of attention, that your coach even knows that that's happening for you.
Mm.
That's big, to for them to stop practice and put football aside to say, hey, these guys are representing us, because they know, your your contribution as a doctor is going to be way more important than your contribution as a defensive end.
Mm. Interesting. What was you guys' impression of the talent level of the guys y'all played with? And I guess as a secondary question, um, after making that assessment, did you feel like, hey, either I should have, moved up, moved down, moved somewhere else in terms of playing? And I'm gonna take a quick lead on this one, and then get y'all there. Division III by far is because there's really no money involved, and it's more a self-selection kind of thing in terms of who's playing there, and the reasons why people bother to play there are, I think, more varied. It's really kind of the Wild West in terms of the talent level there. I mean, my freshman year, and just for folks that don't know, I only played my junior and senior year at Case Western, although, as Ron knows for sure, and I think Sylvester, when I first got up there, went through camp and all that kind of stuff as a freshman and everything, earned a starting spot, and quite honestly, wasn't sure if I could hack both the football and the academics, not knowing how rigorous that was going to be, and basically quit, that year after earning a starting spot. And that also is telling from the standpoint of, Case Western is not a Division III powerhouse. We had a lot of guys there that, quite honestly, probably they were starters probably on marginal high school teams, throughout Northeast Ohio, Western PA, where we got our guys from. Probably couldn't have started for us at Chaney, you know what I mean? So for me to come in, I earned a starting spot. Tommy Mager was a starting middle linebacker as a freshman. That just tells you, like, I could have played at a higher, certainly a better caliber Division III school, or maybe even all the way up to like that non-scholarship 1AA level. Particularly when we see people like, people that we played against, like the Foxes and the Lemons of the world, go to places on that level and really just tear it up. There's no doubt I thought I could have played at a higher level, but that wasn't the football wasn't honestly the primary thing. But I will say Division III is all over the place. We had some guys there, a couple on our team, probably were legit 1AA type dudes, and then we had dudes that, like I said, probably couldn't have started for any kind of powerhouse high school, in Ohio, honestly, too. You know what I mean? So it was cool to eventually go back out and play junior and senior year, make all league, make academic All-American, all that kind of stuff and everything. But certainly could have played at a higher level, without a doubt.
Were there any red shirts at your school?
No, there's no, that concept of red shirting is really not there, because there's no scholarship money. I mean, you still got the same, 5 seasons to play 4 years. I should bring this up too, because I didn't play that freshman and sophomore year. Technically speaking, my first year of medical school, I could have played football, and I actually thought about it. I could have played as a first year med student.
So, Keel, are you telling me you have some eligibility?
I left some on the table, man. I left some on the table. So yeah.
When Mark and I got to the University of Toledo, and we saw, you meet a whole bunch of people on your visit, and you kind of meet the guys, but you finally get a chance to see them. And you don't understand that they have been in summer conditioning all summer to prepare for the incoming year. And we're working, Mark and I are working out, but we're not working out like that. So we get there to test, and we're about to fall out, because we just weren't prepared. That, you know how we do freshmen, So, but as we begin to practice, we begin to look around and say, I'm just as good as this person.
Mm-hmm.
But what I learned was some of their football IQs were a little higher.
Okay.
Let me show you. I never heard of a post corner coming
Mm-hmm.
out of Chaney.
Yeah.
I never knew that a defensive back could roll over and not step in the bucket, backing up when someone does a certain route. It was some things that I had never seen. I'd never seen a quarterback look one way and throw the other way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We were running, remember, 40, we were rolling. I didn't understand, so that was the hardest part, coming as a defensive back. Mark and I coming as a defensive back. But athletically, we saw these guys, and then once we finally got in UT shape, college football shape, I was like, there were a couple, Toledo, Rock is beautiful stadium, one of the best press boxes, beautiful campus. Ron has been there. We would get Ohio State would get, let's say, the top. Michigan, that was even closer, would get the top lineman. We would get the one just underneath it. Michigan would get the top defensive end, the two top defensive ends. We would get the third one who couldn't get on the team because of scholarship. So we had some guys on that team who were just unbelievable. I'll never forget the first time I met with Sean Tate.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe, was he on your visit, Ron?
Yeah, they gave him the what they told was the final scholarship.
Get out of here, man.
That was the first
Ron.
one. That was the first scholarship, right?
Listen, when I saw with Sean Tate, when I saw like Clarence Love, I'm talking about guys who, Clarence played in the NFL. I saw some of these, I'm like, there's levels to this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I got to step it up because I'm too small to run D4, D5 now, and knock out the running back that's coming through the hole. So it was a culture shock.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, listen, and especially Mark. Mark came in there and started as a freshman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So definitely he thought he could play.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The MAC had in that era, Sil, that you're playing and whatnot, didn't the MAC in general, like in terms of putting dudes in NFL, like that was a nice little era for that, right?
I'm gonna miss, Dealin, our hometown guy,
Mm-hmm.
Charlie Batch,
Mm-hmm.
Chad Pennington, Randy Moss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Numerous defensive backs and running backs, and the MAC. We would always have NFL scouts there. Got a chance to meet Doug Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, he stopped practice. All the African American players stopped practicing. Mm-hmm. Without coach telling us to stop, and we ran over to him because we were so happy to see him. But yeah,
was Jason Taylor there at Akron or Kent during those years?
Jason Taylor, my cousin Keith Queener was his big brother on the team. Keith was a junior when Jason came in. Jason was there, played against Jason.
Yeah.
And who would know, from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, goes to Akron.
Yeah.
And he's in the Hall of Fame right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. The MAC has some real talent in that league.
Astron Watley from Warren went to Kent. He did his thing there.
Was James Harrison there, or was that a little after y'all?
That's a little after.
Okay.
He went to Akron Buckle.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is good friends of ours, Romaine Davis, the guys that we played with. Reggie Garnett went there as well. But yeah, the guys came to the MAC. And keep it 100. We went to the MAC because we didn't get to the Big Ten. That was me anyway.
Sure.
I wanted, it was Vanderbilt, Ohio State, and whatever. I wanted to go. I wanted to go to Ohio State.
Yeah.
I didn't even have to play. I just wanted to go to Ohio State.
Yeah.
But I owed my parents. I visited there, and they said they would give me a partial scholarship. I came in the same year. Peppy Pearson was there, and I said, I told myself, my family's been too good to me to take a partial, preferred walk on, excuse me, a preferred walk on.
Hmm.
I'm going to leave a full ride for
Hmm.
to be a walk on. But to answer your question, when I got Toledo, I thought athletically,
Uh,
um, I was just as good
hmm.
as everyone else, but the terminology and knowing the game,
Hmm.
I was so far behind because we love our school, we love our high school, but offensively and defensively, we were primitive
Hmm.
in what
Hmm.
we did.
Yeah. How about you, Ron? What was your impression of the D2, talent level and how you fit in there and everything?
Um, Same sentiments as what Sylvester said. Just concepts and terminology that you had never heard. Like I had no idea what cover two was. Um, you know, Backpedaling and reading as you're backpedaling. That wasn't what we did in high school.
Hmm.
Talent wise, now we had a range. So you had the top of the ladder. So we had guys who had actually started in the Big Ten for Michigan State. Um, a couple guys that had transferred from some mid majors. A couple guys came from Pitt. We definitely had some uh, offensive linemen that were on the NFL radar. One of our offensive tackles, he was like a 2, 3 time All American and ended up being a free agent with the Seahawks.
That's
Um,
Keggerized, I
our,
believe, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Hmm.
our quarterback, he started out at Michigan State and ended up transferring there. One of our running backs who became the all-time leading rusher. He was the Quad A Player of the Year at Woodland Hills with Jason Taylor. I actually saw them play in high school. They came to play Mooney. So, I had seen those guys and, knew what type of players these guys were. And he was highly recruited by everybody,
Hmm.
and he fell to us. We had Larry Jackson, who was, a Division II All-American, played with Curtis Martin in high school and was legit, big and strong. Um, Now coming into Edinboro, they brought me in as a corner, and um, you athletically, I was on the level where I could fit in and compete. There wasn't anything that was overwhelming in terms of the speed or route running or anything like that, but that physical development. So coming from our level of playing high school, we considered a guy, if he was 185 pounds, he was a big bat, and then all of a sudden you're in an environment where everybody's 220, 225, 230. In some cases, you playing against guys that are 250 plus running the ball at you. And here, myself and Charlie are coming into Edinboro. When we weighed in the first day, Chuck,
165 or something.
Chuck, as an outside linebacker, weighed in at 164, and I weighed in at 162.
Mm.
So that physicality, and then catching on to college level concepts. Now, the one thing that shocks you coming from high school to that level is, when two a days start, you know, high school, you're getting a whole month to condition and prepare, transition into pads. We got there, they brought the freshmen in first. So we had 2 days to kind of get a run through of what the routine was. And then when the veterans came, that first day is the fitness test, which, myself and Chuck, we passed. But it's a different mindset. You run your fitness test wearing helmets. The second practice that day, they're running plays. Defense, offense, going over all the concepts they went over in spring ball. So, you haven't even been taught anything yet, and they're already on, day one of what we're doing to get ready for the season opener 2 weeks from now.
Hmm.
By day two, you're in full pads hitting. So
Yeah,
so
yeah.
there is that whole learning curve and that shock factor of just I just got here 3, 4 days ago, and we're already
Mhm.
full pass hitting, and they're going over play calls that you've never even heard of or even seen or thought of before.
Mhm.
So really, those first couple times that they throw you in there, it's all about, were you paying attention to your position to mimic what the guy that's out there starting was doing. And
Mhm.
then
Yeah.
when you do get some action your way, are you who we thought you were?
Mm.
Are you a guy that's going to run from, that guy who was all league last year or is a Division II All American? Now, for us, we didn't know these guys from television or anything like that. So you're just a name that they're calling you. So me, it's like, okay, I don't know Larry Jackson's a Division II All American.
Mhm.
I'm
Right.
running up there to tackle him, and I find out like, okay, he's 215 and he's strong. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? But I didn't back down.
Right.
When last year's starter at receivers running routes, and I'm on the demo team or second, third team or whatever. I'm covering him because I don't know nothing about him. He's just another person that I'm competing against. So
Mhm. Mhm.
I was able to kind of sit in uh, that lane of I might get some playing time right away because on the recruiting thing they were very high on us, and that's what hooked me into coming there was they talked about me like I was somebody that they had to have
Mhm.
and that I was going to be a contributor right away. So
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I,
as far as the talent level goes, you had some real top notch guys, some guys that ended up getting NFL looks and making it through camp. One guy that we had, Gilbert Grantlin. He was um, he was supposed to go to Georgia, the same class as Hines Ward, and he's the legend down there from Belglade, Florida, where Tommy Frazier and them is from. He
yep.
ran a 20 flat in the 200 in high school,
Mm.
and he ended up having uh, some legal issues that sent him on the junior college route, and he ended up coming to us. Well, he ended up being the last cut of the Minnesota Vikings uh, in '96. Was in camp with Chris Carter and them, and they were thinking about keeping him. He got cut the last cut of that
Hey,
preseason.
hey, Ronnie and Kenyon, I remember going in as freshmen. Now I'm thinking about it, and I realized how much the person who recruited me and showed me that I was the best thing since potato chips turned on me.
Mm.
I mean, literally, my defensive back coach was Phil Parker. Ron knows Phil, Coach Parker. Coach Parker's the defensive coordinator for Iowa. Been there probably about 18 years now. And he was a 3-time Big Ten, 2-time All-American at Michigan State. White guy. I mean, just hard nosed. And when I thought I was I thought, I was that, when I got there, I realized that I was
Mm.
just another player on the
Mhm.
team. And I was, hey, coach, and he wouldn't even talk to me because I realized he got me there.
Yeah.
you know, he
Yeah.
got me there. And the mental aspect of it affected me as an incoming freshman. I'm used to going to practice and going home. It was the first time I had been away from home.
Mhm.
This was the first time that football was all that we did. When you come in the summertime, you eat with the team, you watch film with the team, you work out with the team, you have football practice with the team. And I'll be honest with you, it was hard for me. Mark Heron really adapted to it. It was hard. It was very hard for me because I was tired of seeing these guys all the time.
Mhm.
And then this coach who recruited me, just talking all just bad to me. And then I'm trying to learn the defensive playbook. I'm tight. I mean, listen, my first year of freshman camp, man,
Mm.
I'm glad there's no film on.
Okay. Amen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what? We're gonna get close to a wrap up here. For right now, what I wanted to try to do, and this is, I think, if we do another call down the road, I'm gonna prepare ahead of time. I'd love for us, Ron sent some, some media, still pictures, images, couple articles, that kind of thing. Sil, I know you got some stuff stretching back to high school and probably some college stuff too, man. I mean, I'd love for us to have a session where, we can watch a couple of select clips, and talk about some plays and, that kind of thing. Might only be interesting to us, but hey, whatever. What I wanted to do right quick, let me know if y'all are actually seeing this when I share my screen here. I want to see if this is going to work. Okay, are you guys seeing like a YouTube clip right now? Okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right. This is this is a Louisville game, right? That somebody put up some highlights and I don't know.
Take it down.
Huh?
Take it down, Ken.
I want to say, Sil, is this you or was this Thompson? I can't see, it's so grainy, man.
It's Thompson, man.
Oh, okay, that's Thompson. Okay, getting ready to take it to the house, and we get the little karate chop in the back there and lose it and whatnot. And okay, so I just want to make sure it is working. Okay.
Now I did fumble in that game, but that's not me.
I think every one of our skill people did something crazy in that game. We had like 5 turnovers. I think you, Sil, Mark, Dwayne, I think everybody had one, right?
Listen, do you remember that Mark got thrown out the game but came back in?
I don't remember him getting thrown out. No.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mark got thrown out, came back in.
Oh wow. How did that work?
Oh, hey man, I don't know how, but I know he played the next couple plays. I said, okay. Mark, I thought you were out the game.
Yeah, I think we set the world record for turnovers, man. I think all our skill guys had one in this joint.
I want to say one of their players was named Angelek, or their quarterback, man. Listen, everybody know, the Lord knows that we should have
we shouldn't have lost the score that we lost. That was crazy to lose by that much to these dudes.
Hey,
you know what I mean? That was crazy.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So, all right, well, we got this, so this will work. So we'll get into this next time for sure. All right, let me stop that. Yeah, man, that was a low point, and it just very unsatisfying. Like I said, the way we lost. Like, man, there's no way we should have lost by that much, man. That was crazy.
No, we should have lost that game at all. I remember. Did Matt Cavanaugh come and speak to us during that game?
Cavanaugh? I don't remember that one.
It was at Boardman.
I think he did. Like the year before, they showed us the Mike De Niro tape before we went to Steubenville, and I believe he did come speak to us. If it wasn't the day of the game, it was like that spaghetti dinner that week before we were going to play.
Okay.
Yeah,
man. Well, listen, fellas, I really appreciated the time here, and I would love it, like I said, for us to do more of these. I'd love to get some of the other guys involved and everything as well. So let's endeavor to do that.
I think the next one we should talk about the actual college career.
Sure, absolutely.
I would love to hear, because we all went. We can get Wayne. He's at YSU.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Mark has an unbelievable story, man.
Mm-hmm.
And Ron, and I got some plays now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So, actually, you know what? I actually played a lot. I just didn't play like I thought I should have. But every time I said, I should be in, I saw the greatest running back who ever been in the Mid-American Conference. So I couldn't say anything.
Tate was a beast, man. I mean, no doubt about it. Damn near 2,000 yards. That's
one year I'm behind Casey McBeth.
Mm-hmm.
The next year I'm behind with Sean Tate.
Yeah.
What you gonna do? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Should have transferred.
Well, we can talk about that too. We're gonna talk about. I'm gonna officially stop the recording here. We can keep going for a little bit, but I'm gonna stop that right now.